Ladies and gentlemen, Julie Anthony. I'm sorry I hesitated over Lamaroo. It sounds like an extraordinary place.
That's how you say it, Lamaroo.
Lamaroo, that's right. And it was Lush you were born with.
Julie Moncrief Lush.
A fell of a handle, isn't it?
It's a hard one, yes.
Yeah. Why did you change it, in fact?
Well, it started actually very early on. Actually, my first public appearance, my first professional public appearance, was in Tasmania after winning a talent quest. And I went on one night and they said, "Ladies and gentlemen, would I like to introduce Miss Julie Lush?" And they all went... because the place was full of Americans on tour. And I used to see them during the day standing at the billboard in front of the foyer in the hotel, all going, "No!" You know, it can't be really her name, they're all saying. And it got a little bit off-putting, going on stage and having everybody going, you know, uproarious laughter.
Yeah.
So I figured I'd have to change. I didn't want to, but I had to.
Yeah. In fact, you started life, didn't you, as Miss Lush?
I certainly did.
On a farm.
Yes, yes, I was born and raised on a farm.
That's right. What was the music in your family?
Yeah, actually, never professionally, not for generations back. I once had a great, I think possibly great-grandfather who used to ride his bike from Victor Harbour to Adelaide, which is about 60 miles, to sing at the town hall. And that's the only thing I've ever been able to trace in the ancestry at all. Mum and Dad have got terrific voices. My brother sang professionally for 5 years here in Sydney. He's now living in Adelaide. So it's there. My uncle used to sing amateur Gilbert and Sullivan. And that's about basically it.
What was, in fact, your childhood like, though? Because it seems a fairly unlikely beginning for somebody who's now a sort of big singing star to be reared on a farm. I mean, what was it like?
I had a terrific childhood. Did you? Yes. I always remember everything. We were always very happy. It was a great atmosphere. I've always lived in small towns. I moved from Lamaroo when I was 9 to an even smaller place called Galga. And there was a population of about, in the immediate area, about 30 people, which is only a few families. And I had 5 in my school class, 4 boys and me. And that was a battle. And so I always... It was a very stable upbringing.
Were you tomboyish?
Absolutely.
Were you?
Absolutely. Not till I went to Galga. When I was living in Lamaroo up until I was about 8 years old, I was terribly feminine. Used to go to school in the rope petticoats and the little cotton dresses and everything, and went to Galga the first day dressed like that, and the girls were all in shorts and thongs. And I went, I felt terrible. And they all climbed trees and played marbles and things that I'd never done, and played football because there wasn't enough boys in the team. So it took me about half a day to get into that swing. I was climbing trees with the best of them.
What kind of child were you physically though? Were you a gawky child?
Terribly. I was this height when I was about 11 years old. And people used to say to me, "Oh, she's going to be just like her father, who was 6'2". And when you're 11 years old and you have visions of being 6'2", you panic. And I used to go around like this because all my girlfriends were short. And there she'd be, like the leader of the pack, and all the shorter girlfriends coming along behind me. And I always got in the position of playing goalie for the basketball because I was the nearest to the net, you know? Things like
nearest
that.
To heaven. Did you play any boys' sports? Because you mentioned being tomboy.
Yes.
Well, what did you play?
Yes, well, you had to at school. Football.
You
Australian rules. My father used to play professional Australian rules in Adelaide in 1936, 37, 38. And so I grew up with it all the time. It used to be my brother's warm-up practice on Saturday mornings. I used to always have to put on the great big clumpy boots and go out there and kick the football so he'd practice his marking and everything, you see. And at school I was full-back. And I used to threaten the boy I had to stand. I used to say, "Don't you touch me." And because I'm a girl, you've got to stay behind. You know, I used to try all that. Never worked, but I tried.
Must have been a delight marking you, actually.
I had a terrific aim. I could, you know, do all that. I could shoot through the goals, no trouble, if I could just get the ball.
What was any inkling at this time, in this sort of tomboy era of yours, that you wanted to perform at all, that you wanted to become a singer, go on stage? None at all?
Absolutely not.
You wanted to be, what, a farmer?
Yes, I was going to be the first ever lady farmer that ever was, that managed her farm and did all the work herself. Delusions of grandeur a bit. But I always used to work with my dad outside when I'd finished helping Mum. I used to rush outside, and Dad used to teach me how to fix engines and start engines, and we had a lighting plant, as it's called, for electricity. We didn't have the mains electricity. And so I used to have to start the engine and hook up all the electricity to get it through to the house, so I could do all that.
You were, in fact, Miss Rural Youth as well, weren't you?
Yes.
That's how it sounded.
It's all coming out now.
Isn't it? Yeah. But what did you? I mean, what's Miss Rural Youth to start with? I mean, was it a beauty contest?
No.
Oh.
It was farming knowledge.
Oh.
Rotation of crops and things.
You had to know about manure and all that sort of thing.
Yeah. Oh, I used to help Dad shear the sheep. It was Dad and I used to shear about 4,000 sheep. And we used to do it in our own good time. Dad used to say, oh, I had enough today, and we'd finish after doing about 30 sheep, you see. And I used to class the wool. Dad taught me how to do it.
What was your first stage performance, though, as a child? Can you remember that?
Yes, that was at Lamaroo in a school concert. I was a tree.
A tree?
Yes.
That's a very promising
And
gauge, isn't it? You can only go up from that
You
point. know that,
can,
don't
really,
you?
I suppose. I quite enjoyed it because no one could see me. They wrapped all this very heavy-duty brown paper for my trunk, and I held this big, enormous branch of mallee tree, but they wrapped me up before I got up the stairs, you see, and I ripped my trunk getting up the stairs. And I sang the Teddy Bear's Picnic.
A tree sang the Teddy Bear's Picnic?
Yes. Oh, several trees.
Yes.
I wasn't the only one.
Oh, I see, a chorus line of trees.
I was very happy because I didn't want to be a teddy bear or a fairy, you see, and I got to be a tree.
But this sort of, it suited you because you were wrapped up, parcelled up, so people couldn't see you as you really were.
They could hear me. They knew I was there, but they couldn't see me. And I sang my heart out because I didn't get nervous or anything.
Well, but how, therefore, this is fascinating, I mean, the thing about being so shy, how, therefore, did you get the nerve to make your very first professional debut?
Not easily.
No.
It was difficult.
You could hardly walk on wrapped in brown paper.
No, I wish I could have. No.
What was it?
It came about completely by surprise and by accident, actually, because my dad, our local shopping area was about 50 miles from Galga. It was called Wakery. And Dad was up there getting all our week's groceries and things, and he was talking to a friend of his whose son had the only band along that whole River Murray area. And he said that their singer had just disappeared overnight, and they didn't have a singer for their high school ball, you see, and they didn't know what they were going to do. And Dad said, oh, well, Julie's always singing around the house all day. She must know 2 or 3 songs and help you out. And the chap went, oh, terrific. Dad came home and said, well, you better get to basketball practice because we're going out tonight and you're going to sing at the high school ball. And I just looked at him like, I thought, what have you done? And I was terrified. And my girlfriends still remember the time that I went to basketball practice and kept looking at my watch every 3 seconds saying, what time is it? What time is it? And they couldn't understand because I couldn't tell anybody. I was too embarrassed to say that I was going to go and sing that night.
How did you sing the songs, though? I mean, how do you get on stage? I
was more or less pushed. And I think I looked at the floor and sang 3 songs, and my knees were going gang, gang, gang. And it was the worst experience I think I'd ever had up to that point.
Yes.
And I hated it.
The big breakthrough in your career, of course, I suppose, well, not the breakthrough, but one of the landmarks in your career was Irene, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Yeah. How did you chase that, or did it drop in your lap?
Dropped in my lap.
Did it?
It seems it's happened pretty much all the way along somehow. I've been very lucky. I actually went to audition for one of the chorus parts in A Little Night Music, and Betty Pounder was taking the auditions, and she had the seed of Irene in her mind, and it was really not even in the planning stages. And she went back to Williamson's and said, I've found a girl to do a show that I think we should do. And they said, oh, fine, that sounds interesting. What's she done? And she said, well, nothing. She's never been on stage and never acted before, and you could see their faces sinking. And she kept encouraging them, and they did it. They took the gamble.
It's some amazing Cinderella story, isn't it? That,
yes, very much so.
It only happens in novels. It was, of course, you went to London with it as well and became a very big star in London. I remember the press reaction was absolutely incredible, and you must remember it too.
Yes.
But it was also during that time, was it not, that you started having this trouble with your throat?
Yes.
So I remember last time when I was in Australia a year ago, you were just recovering from an operation, I think, that you had on it. What exactly was the problem?
Well,
what used to happen when you were singing?
Well, it started, as you said, at the end of the run of Irene in London. It was just my voice the range was diminishing. I couldn't get the tops or the bottoms. I seemed to have a very small middle range, and it was getting very hoarse. It was just not right. You know, I didn't know what was wrong. I was going to specialists and they couldn't find anything. And this went on for 3 years. My voice kept cutting out. Actually, it hemorrhaged on stage 3 times in that 3 years. And I had no warning. It was never sore, and it just used to cut right out. That was it. And in the middle of a show, which was a bit embarrassing.
And you couldn't sing at all after that?
No.
Once it
No. I just used to have to get off stage in the best possible way that I could. So it was a real cloud over my head. I was becoming very uncertain of what I was doing.
And what was medical opinion about it?
Well, finally, I had a micro-laryngoscopy where they put the microscope down your throat to have a look. And he found, just on the back edge of the cords, a thing that's technically known as spider nevus, which is a collection of blood capillaries in a spidery fashion. And of course, under stress, the capillaries would blow up and burst and hemorrhage. And it took 3 years to find it, because it was hidden.
And what, you had surgery on that then, did you?
Yes, I had to go to Germany and was operated microsurgery over there about 14 months ago now.
And no trouble since?
No, touch wood.
And the voice is from what I heard, the Royal Variety Performance, better than ever, actually.
Well, I'm getting back, I think I have got back my original range and power now, which I was losing up until that time. So I'm really pleased.
Before you did the operation, you had to rest your voice, did you not?
Yes.
How long was it before, or for how long did you not talk?
3 months.
You didn't utter a word for 3 months?
No.
You must have been a joy to live with.
Yeah, everyone...
I'll tell you what, and I'm glad I didn't interview you at that time. It would have been a smashing interview, wouldn't it?
Everyone used to say to Ed, oh, it must be bliss having a wife who can't speak. And Ed said it was quite nice for about 2 days, and then he found himself talking to himself. And it was terrible. Actually, he got very good at reading my mind, so that if I was getting frustrated and couldn't get out what I wanted to say, because you can't think about it. If you try and think a word, your cords move. And that,
really?
Yes, and that was forbidden too. You see, the cords were never to meet. They had to heal by keeping apart. They're a V shape. And if you think and get really frustrated about something, you try and say a word, your cords start to come together. So that was a good trick. I had to remain totally calm about everything.
Extraordinary.
Yeah.
Was there any moment where you nearly forgot that you were...
Oh, yes, yeah.
I mean, did you pick the phone up and then say nothing when it rang?
Yeah, I used to go like this for the first couple of days, and then I'd go, what can I do? You know, so we had to buy a message machine, and if Ed was out, and put the message on saying, you know, this is Eddie Nat, I've left the house, Julie can't talk.
What about if people came to the door and Ed wasn't there and you opened the door?
Oh,
You used to go like that?
It was terrible. A couple of times I had to. I'd get the pencil and paper and say, I can't talk. I have laryngitis. That was the best way to put it, you know. And they'd go, oh, and we'd do sign language, try and, you know, get by. It was very hard for about a week, but surprisingly enough, after that time, you forget that you ever could talk somehow. Your body seems to go into it. You know you can't, so you don't even try. It was an interesting experience. I became a terrific listener.
Yeah. What was going back before that, when you said that your voice first started cracking up on stage? What was the worst moment for you on stage, do you think, ever?
I think it was probably at the Talk of the Town in London. It was something that I'd always wanted to do. I had done Irene, had a certain amount of trouble with my voice, but it seemed to settle down. And this was almost a year later. I went back to do the Talk of the Town and was 45 minutes into an hour show, and it went. And I had a very bad hemorrhage there. And I couldn't talk, as I said before. I couldn't explain what was going on. I just had to do sign language to the musical director to cut to the last song, which meant cutting out about 3 or 4 songs, and just get off. Consequently, it was reported in one of the papers that Miss Anthony left the stage rather abruptly and didn't thank the orchestra. But it was just an awful situation, that it was going well and I suddenly had to go and not be able to say why.
There's also cynicism in some quarters too, wasn't there, about it?
Yes, there was a little, although I can understand it. Some of the people over there thought that I just didn't want to do any more of the show and wanted to leave the country. And that was probably the worst moment I've ever had in my career, that they could think that, but then again they didn't know me, you see, and I can understand it, but at the same time I didn't understand it, if you know what I mean. It was rather nasty for a while, until they found out that I actually did have a problem. I had to go to several throat specialists and be certified that I was unfit to perform and all that, you know.
Well, all that now is gladly past you, and you've been recently in America. You're going back there. Does that mean to say that you're going to go over there and make your entire career in America?
No, I could never live anywhere else
You
but
couldn't?
here. No, I'm an Aussie through and through. I love it. I can't tell you why particularly. It's just something in the air, I think. I think it's a tremendous place to live. But it's also great to get away and experience other work areas, and America's a great place to work. So I'm trying to get 2 summers a year. If I can work a summer over there and a summer here and get rid of the winters.
That's a nice idea.
Yeah.
Right. You don't have winters in Australia. You're joking. You call
Not
this
really.
winter.
Not really.
Could be sunbathing in Barnes.
That's right. I would too.
Now, what about this song that you've recorded recently? It's in fact the first original song that you've recorded.
First song ever written for me.
for you.
Yes, by Robbie Porter, who's a tremendous songwriter who's done such a lot for our industry here. And I finished doing the vocals in LA just last week.
And what's it called?
I've only said I love you in my mind.
I've only said I love you in my mind. Right, Julie, Mr. Tico and his band of itinerant rogues, so those you over there.
I shall join them.
Would you? Thank you very much.
Shall.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, Miss Julie Anthony.